In 1683, the plains of Hungary shake beneath an empire on the move. 150,000 Ottoman soldiers march west, so many that their columns can take hours to pass a single point, while crescent banners swallow the summer sky. Their target is Vienna, the golden apple of Europe. The whole continent watches, paralyzed by pride and politics, and almost no one lifts a hand. And here's the unsettling twist. This battle will not be decided by numbers alone. Behind Vienna's aging stone walls, the city is starving by inches, and the besiegers are confident that time will finish the job. But far to the north, a small force begins to move. Too small to make sense, too determined to ignore. In the days ahead, people will describe what happens with one simple word: thunder. And that thunder will not come from the sky. In the summer of 1683, Ottoman crescent banners stretch so far they seem to cover the sky. Around 150,000 men march west, their columns so long it can take 3 hours to pass a single point. Commanding them is Grand Vizier Kara Mustafa Pasha, the empire's chief war leader, who has pushed through the Balkans and left conquered cities smoldering behind him. Now he fixes his gaze on Vienna, the strategic prize Europeans call the golden apple. If Vienna falls, the road into Germany opens. If Vienna falls, the lands of Italy begin to shake. And if Vienna goes down, the Christian kingdoms crack and tumble like dominoes. But Europe is divided and exhausted. The Holy Roman Empire is weakened by politics and pride. The emperor has already fled Vienna. France stands aside, unwilling to rescue its Austrian rival. The Italian states argue among themselves. Protestants and Catholics still carry the scars of earlier wars. Everyone stares at their own interests, and almost no one notices the abyss opening beneath their feet. Only one man believes the darkness can be stopped: King Jan III Sobieski of Poland. He is 60 years old, a warrior since youth, and a veteran of roughly 30 battles against Turks and Tatars alike. His faith runs so deep, it unsettles those who do not share it. Where others see despair, he sees duty. Where others see impossible odds, he hears a call to stand. His country is worn out, his treasury is empty, and his army numbers only a few thousand. Still, he sends word to Vienna: "Hold fast, I am coming." He does not wait to bargain. He does not wait for guarantees. He gathers every man who can ride and begins the longest forced march in Polish history. Because there are moments that rise above calculation, and when civilization stands at the edge, good men do not sit and count the cost. They pay it. By mid-July, the Ottoman host surrounds Vienna. The balance is brutal. 150,000 outside the walls against 15,000 inside. The fortifications are old, built before gunpowder made stone so easy to break. The garrison is small, commanded by Count Ernst Rüdiger von Starhemberg, a man as hard as iron, who understands they cannot win, only hold. But he refuses to surrender, and then the siege machinery begins its work. Day and night, the guns roar. Ottoman miners dig beneath the walls, collapsing sections of defense in eruptions of fire and smoke. Inside the city, defenders fight for every meter of wall, every hour of daylight. Time is no longer counted in days, it becomes heartbeats and prayers. What matters most is will. There is no retreat. Every quiet moment is only long enough to hear the digging more clearly beneath their feet. And the frightening truth is this: the besiegers are in no hurry. While Vienna starves, Kara Mustafa sits in a silk pavilion, dining on lamb and honey. He builds a city of tents, so vast it takes hours to walk across it. He invites foreign ambassadors to watch the siege like a performance. His officers urge a direct assault, but he refuses. Why sacrifice men when hunger can do the work? He believes time is on his side, and he believes no one is foolish enough to come north to challenge him. But this is the turning point. He does not look to the north. Smoke hangs over the city like a funeral shroud. Food runs out, then runs lower, then nearly disappears. People boil leather belts to make soup. Rats become something worth fighting over. The elderly and the very young die first. Not by sword, but by hunger. Water dwindles. Disease spreads. Dysentery, fever, wounds that refuse to heal. Civilians dig trenches beside soldiers. Old men stand watch. Children carry stones to patch the walls. Women load muskets with steady hands. Each morning, Starhemberg climbs the ramparts and counts the breaches. Each morning, there are more. 3 massive gaps have been torn into the outer defenses. The number of men still able to fight has fallen to roughly 4,000. They have held for 2 months, and they cannot hold much longer. Starhemberg writes that they are like ghosts guarding a grave, yet they still will not yield. Outside the walls, Kara Mustafa grows more confident. Markets rise between tents. Music plays in the evenings. In his mind, Vienna's wealth has already been divided. And then, in the north, a small movement begins. Far beyond the Ottoman ring, an army gathers, tiny by imperial standards, but moving with clear purpose. King Jan Sobieski calls every ally willing to answer. Duke Charles of Lorraine brings around 20,000 Austrian and German troops. The southern German princes contribute a few thousand more. And from Poland, across roughly 500 miles of mountains and storm, Sobieski leads his famous cavalry south, the Winged Hussars. About 3,000 Polish horsemen, Europe's finest heavy cavalry of the age. Their armor is steel so costly that a peasant could labor 10 years and still not afford it. Yet even when they join the imperial forces, the total is only about 27,000 men facing 80,000 Ottomans. The numbers sound like a march into death. Suicide disguised as a plan. Sobieski does not care about the math. He cares about duty. He writes to his wife. He is going to save Vienna. If he dies there, tell their children their father died doing what God required. As August turns to September, despair settles over Vienna like cold frost. The walls crumble faster than they can be repaired. Powder runs low. Ottoman mines near completion. On the night of September 9th, Starhemberg sends his last messenger through the siege lines with a single message. Come now, or do not come at all. On the night of September 10th, rumors spread through the city. Someone claims to have seen signal fires on distant hills. Another says he heard trumpets echoing from the mountains. People climb the walls and stare north, holding their breath. And just before dawn on September 11th, they see it. Banners cresting the ridge, the double-headed eagle of the empire, the white eagle of Poland, the standards of Bavaria, Saxony, Franconia. Church bells ring for the first time in weeks. People weep in the streets. They do not know whether this small army can save them, but for the first time in 2 months, they believe they might not die alone. A whisper runs through every street. The Polish king is coming. Sobieski has driven his men across the Carpathian passes, where summer storms turn trails into rivers of mud, through forests so thick the sun disappears for days, across rivers swollen with rain. They move at an unbelievable pace, 40 miles some days, 50 when desperation demands it. They sleep in the saddle, they eat in the saddle. Vienna is dying, and every hour has a price. The Hussars ride at the front. Knights who have become legend while still alive. Their armor catches the light like seized sunlight. On their backs rise wings of eagle feathers on wooden frames, more than decoration, a weapon of the mind. Those wings make them seem larger than life. And when 3,000 horsemen accelerate, the wind screams through them, an eerie sound many enemies hear only once. Each hussar is a warlord in steel from head to toe, carrying an 18-foot lance of hollow wood. Light enough to couch under one arm, strong enough to punch through armor and horse. They are nobles with land, titles, and wealth. They could have stayed home in safety. They ride anyway, because honor demands it, because their king calls, and because some things matter more than survival. At Tulln, Sobieski joins Duke Charles of Lorraine and the Imperial Army. Poles and Austrians, who do not love one another, now stand side by side. Catholics and Protestants, who once called each other enemies, recognize one another as brothers. Vienna is dying, and if Vienna falls, they will fall next. In that moment, old hatred dissolves. Only one thing remains. The blow everyone knows must come. On the night of September 11th, the Allied army reaches the woods near Vienna. No fires, no sound above a whisper. At dawn on September 12th, the commanders climb the heights of Cavalry. What they see below steals the breath from their lungs. The Ottoman camp stretches for miles, 80,000 men in solid formation. Cavalry reserves in the tens of thousands. Artillery parks thick with bronze cannon. Crescent banners so numerous they look like a second sky. Between the hill and the city lies open ground, watched by guns like a kill zone. Sobieski has seen many battlefields, yet he still feels the weight of this moment. 27,000 against 80,000 elite Ottoman troops. A younger commander might hesitate, might wait for better odds. But Sobieski understands what Kara Mustafa does not. Some moments in history demand sacrifice without calculation. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is refusing to let fear make your choices. When evil gathers at the gates, good men do not ask for better odds. They pay the price that virtue demands. He turns to his officers, calm and certain. They will attack at noon. The Hussars will lead. Make peace with God. Across the lines, men kneel in prayer. Catholic priests offer blessings. Protestant chaplains lead hymns. For one morning, there is no divide, only people facing the shadow. The Hussars check armor, tighten girths, test the balance of their lances, whisper to their horses. Some write final letters. Others simply close their eyes and breathe, memorizing the scent of the morning. Around 11, the army begins its descent from Cavalry. Infantry meets the skirmishers. German cavalry hammers the flank. Austrians press from the south. It works, but too slowly. Vienna cannot wait. Inside the city, defenders launch one last sortie, throwing themselves at the siege lines in desperation. If the cavalry does not break through soon, the city may fall even as help stands within sight. Sobieski sits on his warhorse atop a low ridge. Behind him, 3,000 winged hussars form a great wedge. 3,000 lances drop as one. 3,000 prayers vanish into the wind. His sons ride beside him, Alexander and James, faces set in determination. The king raises his sword, the blade catches the light, and the thunder begins. At noon on September 12th, 1683, the sky seems to open, not with rain, not with lightning, but with wings. 3,000 hussars surge off the ridge like a hammer, first a steady rhythm, then faster, until the ground shakes. Their feathered wings catch the wind and roar, and then they drive straight in. Behind them, around 18,000 Allied cavalry pours down the slope. But it is the hussars the enemy sees first, an iron flood descending like a storm. From Vienna's walls, the defenders stare in stunned silence. They have never seen anything like it. A living cascade of men and horses, formation holding, steel flashing in the afternoon light, like angels diving toward judgment. Ottoman cavalry charges out to meet them. The Sepahis are dense, seasoned, veterans of countless campaigns, but they have never faced the winged hussars. In minutes, the Polish wedge crashes into the front line like a falling mountain. The impact can be heard even at a distance, steel on steel like an explosion. Lances splinter as they punch through ranks and throw riders from their saddles. The hussars do not stop. They break through the first line, then the second, then the third. When a lance shatters, a rider discards it and draws a saber without slowing. The Allied cavalry widens the tear. The Ottoman formation begins to crack. One unit turns, then another. Then an entire regiment breaks and runs. And after that, the collapse. Panic spreads faster than any blade. Soldiers who once held firm in sieges now flee in chaos. The janissaries, the elite, try to gather and form a defense, but the cavalry surge rolls over them like a scythe through wheat. Sobieski seems to be everywhere at once. His horse covered in dust and blood, his sword red to the hilt, his voice cutting through the roar. His sons fight at his side like princes born to bear responsibility. He leads from the front, because when it feels like the world is ending, that is what a king must do. In his silk pavilion, Kara Mustafa watches his army unravel. The man who promised the Sultan the golden apple stands frozen as the nightmare spreads. And when the spearhead comes into view, he runs. He leaves behind treasure, maps, his personal banner, and the golden apple meant for the Sultan's hand. It is all abandoned in a desperate scramble to escape. By late afternoon, it is over. 80,000 Ottoman soldiers scatter. Around 15,000 lie dead on the field. The rest flee south in disorder. The greatest army the Sultan has gathered is broken in a single day by a force barely 1/3 its size. Vienna is saved. Europe is saved. As the sun sets, Jan Sobieski rides through Vienna's gates. The streets fill with survivors, crying, cheering, falling to their knees. Children reach out to touch his horse. Women throw flowers. Men kiss the hooves of hussar mounts. They are thin with hunger, hollow from sickness, like shadows. But they are alive. Sobieski dismounts in the square of St. Stephen's Cathedral. He kneels before the altar, covered in dust, exhaustion, and the pain of an impossible day. And he speaks the Latin words that will echo for generations. Veni, vidi, Deus vicit. I came, I saw. God conquered. Not we conquered. Not I conquered. Not Poland or Austria or Germany conquered. God conquered. Because in the fever of victory people forget, courage is a gift from heaven, and strength is often something we borrow from beyond flesh and bone. When the impossible becomes possible, it is not by human hands alone. The siege is broken. The Ottoman advance is stopped. From this point on, the crescent banners will no longer threaten the heart of Europe in the same way. A tide that seemed unstoppable only days earlier turns in a single September afternoon. And the sound that turns it is thunder. The thunder of hooves pounding down a mountain. The thunder of wings singing in the wind. The thunder of men who refuse to let darkness win. Vienna, 1683, leaves us a simple lesson. When someone is too certain of victory, they often stop looking in the right direction. And when every calculation says impossible, history sometimes waits for one person willing to say, I still have to do it. If you have your own feelings or perspective on Vienna and the Winged Hussars, leave a comment, slowly, thoughtfully, like recalling a powerful memory. And if you want to continue, in the next video, we'll follow a new question. When an empire believes it cannot be stopped, where does the first crack usually appear?